Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. And look, this one's going to be a little bit different. This episode is sponsored by Colin Campbell Chemicals. I was down in Melbourne recently for the Poa Forum that they put on with their partners, and this one was recorded live. There's a few little grabs with some key people from the industry that attended this Poa Forum, where I just get their thoughts on what it means to get to an event like that, to stay up to date with some knowledge. So come with me. It's recorded live. It's something a little bit different. I hope you're able to take something away. This is all about education. Thanks to Colin Campbell Chemicals for getting me down there to Woodlands Golf Club. This is episode number 76. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the awesome Woodlands Golf Club here on Melbourne Sandbelt, and I have with me the host, is that the right word, Nadeem? The host of the Poa Forum here in conjunction with K&B Adams and Greenway Turf Solutions. Mate, welcome along.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Thank you for making the trip down as well, and I hope you enjoyed the train trip. I saw a few things on social media. It's like going into a beautiful landscape we do have in Australia.
Indeed, mate. So look, thank you for putting this on in conjunction with your partners there, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to expect here today.
Yeah, so today the main aim is to really give up-to-date information about Poa, about wintergrass. There's a lot of contacts I've got in the States and everything like that, which I talk to regularly and see at GO's conferences, but I thought, well, why don't we bring more of that information here to Australia? So I asked Jim if he's happy to do it. I said, Jim, can you do 3 hours? Of course I can do 3 hours.
And of course, that's Dr. Jim Brosnan, from the States.
Yes,
yep.
From University of Tennessee. And then I thought also on the day going, well, this is a Poa Forum. It's like going, what do we do? Do we talk about Poa control? Do I talk about Poa cure? I go, no, this day is about the delegates who want to come and learn more. So I got Dr. Peter Boutsalis from University of Adelaide and Plant Science Consulting. He screens a lot of weeds for resistance testing and the likes, and we've utilised him quite a bit for Poa cure.
Yep.
So that's the other part of it that I wanted him to have a chat in regards to the work he's done, but also the work he does in Broadacre. Peter's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to resistance and chemistries as well. So I thought that would be a good additive for this day.
Perfect. And there's a lot of people going to be here today from all over the country, really, and some internationals, of course.
That's it, yeah. So I've got guys coming from Sydney, a bit of a contingent, but I've also got a New Zealand contingent there.
Very good.
I met up with them yesterday, and I said, look, thank you guys for coming along. They go, no, this is, we're learning. We want to come for this. It's like it wasn't hard for them to get permission from their bosses, from the general managers to come, and got a lot of local contingents here from Melbourne as well.
Yeah, of course. No, look, it's fantastic, and I think we're going to have a great day here. Lots of information to take up, and I think everyone's excited to be part of it, mate. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, same here.
I've got Superintendent from Eastwood Golf Club, Pete Causey, with me. G'day, Pete. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. A little bit nervous. How's it?
Yeah, a bit live almost.
A live one. Yeah. Mate, great to have you here. Now, mate, this is a Poa Forum. We're talking about Poa control and management and the likes. And we've just had Dr. Jim Brosnan over from the US via Zoom give a 3-hour talk about the challenges that are in Poa control. What's it like coming to an event like this and staying ahead of the game and hearing what the latest and greatest information is? Is this important to be part of?
It is actually. It's very interesting. It's probably the longest that I've stayed awake for a while too. But and surprisingly enough, I did. Usually these ones I tend to get a little bit tired, but this one was very interesting, so it was very helpful as well.
And is it something that you find, we've all got to be at the forefront of the information? I mean, the US is doing a lot of research, as we've just heard. Is this sort of stuff useful for you and in your career as much as where you are at the moment and understanding the plant type in Poa and how it operates?
Yeah, I think it is. Everyone's in a different position as well. Like with Poa bent grass greens at Eastwood, so a lot of the products that they're talking about we probably wouldn't use across our greens anyway. But it's very interesting just to hear how the overspray onto the surrounds and all of the things like that really affect the way that the Poa's surviving. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, it's But look, I've been blown away by some of the challenges in the US that we're starting to hear about and see about here in Australia as well. So I think getting this information out and having Colin Campbell's and their supporters in K&B Adams and Greenway Turf Solutions be putting something like this on when these events come around. These are sorts of things that you look out for to stay up to date with things as well.
Definitely. If I can make it to these kind of events, I'll always try and put my hand up to turn up to them, because you do learn a lot from them.
Yeah, right. And you get a chance, I suppose, to talk to peers as well. There's exactly a lot of people here, isn't there? Really,
a lot of networking and talking to see what other clubs are doing around the place that are sort of similar environments to what you're sort of dealing with. So.
Yeah. And even, would you say, and I don't know, is it sort of helpful that some things aren't specific, like you said before, for your particular site, certain parts of Eastwood, that your Poa bent greens, and this is understanding the plant, but you can use some of this information at other parts of the course or different turf types around the place as well, potentially?
Well, potentially, yeah, different turf types around the course, but also if the jobs come up at other places, you've still got that knowledge that you can take to new places that you go to.
Yeah. So, mate, it's good to hear that this is something that you can grab hold of, great information, and recommend. Do you recommend this to people? Like this is a full house here, so I
definitely would recommend it for people to come and listen to. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, unreal. Pete, thank you so much for being on. As a past superintendent that's been on the Keeper of the Green segment, go back through the back catalogue, guys, and you'll find Pete Causey on there. It's a great listen to. So thank you, mate, for stopping by.
Thanks, mate. Always a pleasure.
Cheers. Richard Forsyth, Director of Courses, Royal Melbourne Golf Club. Thank you for coming on the podcast, the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. We're here at Woodlands Golf Club for the Poa Forum. It's put on by Colin Campbell Chemicals. Richard, I want to ask you, yourself, you've been in and around the industry for a very long time. You're at Royal Melbourne Golf Club, as just mentioned. What's it like to come to something like this and just hear about the up-to-date information coming from some of the experts around the world? Is this important to sort of be across every now and then, be part of?
I think it's very important. Early days I always made sure that I'd sort of travel and attend as many things as I could. I think learning, if you don't, sometimes you can easily say these days, you can say, oh, look, I'm too busy to go and do that. Or
I used to do that all the time.
Devote the time. But I think something like this with, quality speakers talking about up-to-date stuff, it's very worthwhile and very important, I think, to get along to these for sure.
And would you sort of, and I like to highlight this because, like you just said, I used to do it and say that you're always too busy. What about for younger people getting into their careers, given an opportunity, they might hear about this as apprentices or recently qualified greenkeepers? Is this something that's helpful for them, just the same as experienced people like yourself?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's all information. I mean, when I was a younger superintendent, I was in the country areas, and I always tried to come to education days, but that meant a 6-hour, sometimes an 8-hour drive, turnaround, so 4 hours there and back. But so long as you thought you were getting something worthwhile from that, you'd always go and do it. And when you're younger, you probably, there's more information to be gained. When you get older, you're just going to pick up 3 or 4 gems and you work with those. So, I think, regardless of your experience, I think that it's good for all levels of people to get along to the education days for sure.
Yeah, cool. And one of the other things I just want to ask is we hear about the annual conferences, which the ASTMA put on in Australia here, and it's a big deal. And sometimes we can't always get to that. And I suppose I'm highlighting the positives about some of these smaller satellite things that people like Nadeem have put on from time to time in all different parts of the country. They are worthwhile to get at, which is great to hear about in yourself, and being able to talk to peers as well. Is that an important part of these sorts of things too?
Oh, no doubt about that. And this is a very specific topic.
Yep.
And for us here in Melbourne, power control and resistance, they're very big issues for us. So we're all, I guess, like-minded, talking about a similar topic, and so the discussion, away from the official presentations is just as beneficial.
No, unreal. Richard, just quickly, mate, thank you very much for being part of the podcast.
No, great, Steve.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have with me Doug Agnew from Melbourne Polytechnic. G'day, Doug. Welcome for being on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast here at Woodlands Golf Club for the Poa Forum. Mate, I'll ask the question. I've asked it to a lot of people that I've talked to already. What's important about coming to something like this, in your opinion, and being across some of this latest information from expert speakers and the like? What do you find getting from this?
I think it's essential. It's important that every turfie is able to come in and get the new information so we can pass it on. And we're always looking to improve. And I think Poa is a hot topic, and I think that's why many people are here today.
Yeah. And I've certainly, just having a few conversations, I probably didn't realise just how important that Poa control is, and even understanding that, not even just how to control it, but understanding the plant. And we've heard a few bits and pieces about how it's considered, a perennial plant in a lot of the cases as well. So it's different to some of the things that we might just hear in passing early on in our careers. But it's good to see a mix of some younger people with lesser experience, and people like Richard Forsyth at Royal Melbourne. It doesn't matter your experience. It's great to still be across some of this stuff, even if you haven't had a lot of experience.
Yep, absolutely. And even in the talk today, it came up that with all the treatments, and even the best treatments they had, the best they had was 98%.
Yeah.
And this plant is such an efficient plant in reproducing and changing to survive that's why it's such a difficult weed. And that's why it's so complex, and you've got to have a whole strategy to try and keep on top of it.
It's quite incredible to hear, like Dr. Jim Brosnan just then from the stage, talk about all that sort of stuff, and the amount of research over so many years that's gone into one plant, essentially. It's a really, I suppose, strong plant in terms of how it can, like you said, modify itself and get through all that sort of stuff. And do you see... and I asked Richard Forsyth this question as well. Sometimes we feel we're too busy to come to these sorts of events, and is it important to try and find a way to make an effort to get to these? Is it really that much more beneficial to be across this sort of info?
It really is. There's plenty of places to go to, I guess, when they have seminars and things like that. But you've just got to pick. And this was a specific one on Poa annua, and I teach the apprentices at Melbourne Polytechnic, and I teach weed control. And I used to talk about Poa as my enemy, and I'd go into detail about why it's my enemy, the way it adapts and changes. But the more I've got to know it, the more I'm starting to like it, because it's such a survivor and it can reproduce so easily. But yeah, it's a real evil little plant in our turf industry that is giving us a lot of grief. It's not an easy solution. And I think another issue too is a lot of turfies are going to have trouble trying to explain to their board members about what the difficulties we have in just trying to get rid of a weed.
I'm going to ask you a curveball, and maybe goes a little bit against some of what we've heard people talk about today, is, and that's my background, where Poa was our surface, was our putting green surface. It was Poa bent. And majority, I'd say most of our greens at Katoomba in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney was about 85% plus Poa. And sometimes it's not always our enemy. It depends on your climate. It depends on your environment. And I think we've heard Dr. Jim Brosnan talk about understanding whether it is your enemy or it isn't, and that's important as well.
It's a very good point you make. The plant, the Poa annua, makes a brilliant putting surface. It's just that I think that the public and the members seem to want this monoculture. They want a uniform surface that looks pristine, perfect. Yep. But I'm positive, 30 or 40 years ago, I'm positive some of these bent greens, the putting surfaces at golf, were a hodgepodge of all different grasses.
Yep.
It was quite common, but they putted beautifully and they performed well, and that can still happen today. Why don't we have Poa greens?
That's a very good question. We just saw on the slides at Oakmont in the States and Pebble Beach, they are Poa annua putting surfaces, or at least blends.
Yeah, it's a great grass for a putting surface.
So, yeah, interesting thought. Doug, thank you very much for being on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have with me Superintendent of Cape Kidnappers from New Zealand, Brad Sim. G'day, Brad. How are you?
Good, Steve.
Mate, thank you for taking a minute or two to join me on the podcast. It's great to see a New Zealand person make the trip over.
Well, actually Aussie. So
Aussie.
I've
moved
over there 10 years ago, yeah. So, but good to come home and see everyone here and get together and talk Poa.
Talk Poa and hear the latest and greatest. What does it mean to make the trip over from New Zealand to come and hear this sort of stuff over here at Woodlands?
Oh, it's fantastic. We don't get the sort of content over there that you guys can put together, and a little bit smaller industry over there. So to be able to latch on, get over and see all the guys and latch on to this kind of content is just awesome.
And catching up with peers, and these are people that you know, some of you know, some of you don't know as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And the calibre of the people here, you're always learning something, and got a notebook full there, and I spent some time going around to a few tracks yesterday. So yeah, it's just invaluable to be able to go, reach out, and these guys are so good. They always give the information. So yeah.
And how will it go with you? Do you think you're going back? There's going to be some bits and pieces that you'll take and mould into what works for your Cape Kidnappers potentially?
Yeah, this is true because we're all cool season grass there. So
right.
There's a little bit of a difference for us. We don't have the cooch and on the fairways and stuff. So I've got to take and leave a little bit, but there's always something in there, and you kind of, like you said, mix and match and take back what's good for you.
And this isn't obviously it's not the annual ASTMA conference. It's a smaller satellite version, very specific topic. Is this something that you still get a good lot of knowledge out when these smaller type things pop up and you go that this is something I want to hear more about? Is it worthwhile trying to seek some of these out from time to time?
I think so, yeah. It's been a topic here amongst some of the guys. Sometimes the bigger conferences that they're leading towards non-specific things like more HR kind of stuff, and it's been a comment a few times here today that this content here that is so direct onto our big problems, and one of the biggest ones is Poa. So yeah, without a doubt, these smaller ones are good, and because they're so targeted.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Good, Steve. Thanks, mate.
I have now with me Superintendent of Spring Valley Golf Club here in Victoria, Craig Anthony. G'day, Craig. How are you?
Good, thanks, Steve. How are you?
Not too bad, mate. Now, this is the first time for you, I imagine, on the podcast, is it?
It is, yes, that's right.
Only brief, but we're talking about coming to something like this Poa Forum here that Colin Campbell Chemicals have put on at Woodlands. What's it mean for you? You're a superintendent at a good golf course, a high-level golf course here in Melbourne at Spring Valley. Is it important to stay? I asked this question to everyone that's been on this already. Is it important to stay across this info, some of the latest and greatest information from the States, from Dr. Jim Brosnan? What's it mean to sort of stay ahead of the curve?
Oh, it's an enormous part of the job, I guess. So we're all having the same issue with Poa resistance in fairways and greens and whatnot. So to learn what the US are doing and trying new techniques to try and achieve the desired results is really important. Speaking to like-minded superintendents, so we're all trying different things.
Yep.
Hopefully we get the desired results going
forward.
Going forward, yeah.
And is it... I asked the question about... myself, when I was superintendent, I often found that it was... sometimes I'm always too busy. Is it worthwhile sort of finding time to come to these sorts of things, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. You've got to continue to keep learning and progressing as well. So I think you owe it to your club as well. So
sure.
It's going forward and trying to produce the best turf surfaces. So what you did 12 months ago doesn't mean it's the right thing going forward. So
yeah, sure. That's a good point.
Learn and keep developing what you know.
That's a good point. And I always ask the question about thinking of the future and where you go in your career and staying with the latest information all the time, because it's always changing and the researchers are always learning. So you can take this no matter where you go, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you've just got to keep developing, I guess. So,
yeah. No, it's very good, mate. Craig, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
Nadeem, post Poa Forum, that was a big day. There was a lot to digest in there, and I think my lunch digested just as fast thinking about it.
It was. The day went a lot better than I thought it would. Just talking to the delegates just throughout the quick breaks that we had. We didn't have as many breaks as normally, but we had a lot of information. Jim was just superb. I got the comment that it started off going, okay, yeah, this makes sense, then it just exploded with the information.
Honestly, I think lots of people's heads were spinning in here with some of the information that he was coming out of, and of course the level of research that he and people that have been involved with his team over a long time have understood, and they're telling the turf industry of what they're seeing and what they're coming across, things to expect. That was just, I think nearly 3.5 hours he spoke for. That was a lot.
It was, and it's right with his with the other people he works with in the faculty. I actually got a message from Brandon Horvath from University of Tennessee. He's a plant pathologist there who Jim mentioned because he sent me a picture. I said, "Oh, Jim actually put this picture in his slide." I said about 30 minutes ago. I said that's the aim of this.
Up to
forum
date
was the most up to date information.
Yep.
And the like. So yeah, he was brilliant, Jim. There's some really good information, really good takeaways there. A lot of questions at the end. But a lot of questions on people thinking, well, what's the answer? And there isn't that silver bullet.
Really, really eye-opening in the level of how complex and adaptive Poa is as a weed in a sense, if it's not something that you have as your surface. And of course, we saw that there's some wonderful golf courses in America, some of the top level courses, Oakmont, Pebble Beach, Cypress Point, that have Poa as their surface. So this isn't something for them, but for courses that do want to manage and not have Poa as part of their golf course turf surfaces, this is really about understanding the plant as well, and how you can control and manage. And there was so much information. Then we had Dr. Peter Pizzalis from University of Adelaide, and his information and the questions that were coming out then to him. I mean, there's lots of info.
Oh, there is. And one of the things with Peter Pizzalis' talk as well was just going in regards to the chemistry, where it wasn't common knowledge about certain things, about different chemistries. And Peter has that knowledge. And just, I think a lot of people now will go away and going, well, am I using my chemistries correctly? Is it resistant? Do I have to get it screened? They know now where they can go to University of Adelaide to Plant Science Consulting and get it screened, but are we utilising everything the best we could? So I thought Peter and Jim's talks really complemented each other well. Very much so, and the level of understanding of the plant from Jim was really quite incredible. And then I think some of the things that I took away from Peter was simple things. Well, I say simple loosely, of course, but they're so complex. Is the manner in which you use your chemistries. Like, it's so critical to understand your situation, to understand the weather conditions, to get the best out of, because Poa is so adaptive that you can put something out there when you think it's okay, and it's not perfect, and it will, some instances, will miss. Won't it? It's critical. That's right, and it varies from year to year as well. Going, wait a minute, I did it last year this time, it worked and you got a result, and then this year you got nothing. Got no results, so it is trying to think of that, and hopefully everyone, I guess I'm going to hopefully get the more information as Peter will send me for the delegates, going, get them to think, going, okay, well, this is what we're going to do over the next month. This is what we need to spray for. Let's work out when is the best time to spray for everything, not on a calendar. Timing going, the optimum conditions, and just ready to go when we can. Obviously, from a practical point of view, on a golf course or a sports field, you can't spray when you want to spray. You do have timing, but hopefully it gets people thinking. No, it was fantastic, mate. My eyes were opening, and I've been, I haven't been a practicing super for 10 years or so, and there was information there. I'm watching current superintendents. So it was opening my eyes. It was opening their eyes, and they're doing it every day still in some of the best golf courses in the country. It was just such this big dump of info and a lot to get your head around. And guys, the conversations I was listening to and seeing afterwards. So when it concluded, everyone was getting up and talking about what they'd heard. How is that going to think for them when they go back to their workplaces, and how can they adapt some of that information? There's a lot of takeaways from here, wasn't there? Oh, there definitely was. It was. I really enjoyed putting this on. It was great that we had, I was booked out and had to close it off the week before. So it was good in that. So appreciate everyone coming here as well, and as well as our partners, our Poa Cure agents here in Victoria, K&B Adams and Greenway Turf Solutions. For when I asked them to be a part of this, it was just yes. It wasn't a negotiation. Yeah, we'll do that. That sounds good. And they gave me feedback. They go, thank you for this day. This worked out really well, and exactly what you said with the people just talking amongst themselves about afterwards. They mentioned that to me as well. A lot of takeaways, and of course, thank you to your partners in K&B Adams. We're going to mention them again. K&B Adams, Greenway Turf Solutions, and of course, Colin Campbell Chemicals for organising the whole event, mate. Yourself, you've done an incredible job with it all, and Dr. Jim Brosnan and Dr. Peter Pizzalis for their time speaking. It was quite a sensational forum and a lot to take away, mate. So well done. No, thank you, Steve, and thank you for making the trip down as well. That's the other side of it. It's like going, right now, I could not be doing this right now because you made the effort to come down. No, really, thank you for that. No, mate, it's great to be part of it. And, mate, I've got to ask, on the back of the success of this, and I'm alluding to something, is this something that you are going to potentially look to do more of in the future? Is there a one-a-year scenario that you'll think about, or one every few years? Have we got to keep our eyes open and talk to Nadeem? When's the next forum? One every year. Big commitment, I know. I don't know about one every year in terms of that. Hopefully this is the start of maybe with different seminars. Sure. With different associations, I'll bring this type of information more so there. I definitely probably will do something down the track, especially with the contacts I've got, whether it's just maybe not necessarily Poa, but different types of weeds, diseases, those type of things. Passing on information, knowledge, and getting, because I think the satellite version of what this is, I think is, and I've said it before, the ASTMA do the annual conference every year, but not everyone can make that every year. So I think it's important from where I sit outside looking, that given the opportunities where this can be, we're down here on the Sandbelt.
So, there's a chance for people to come down to a place like this, or if it goes to other states and other capital cities, that if you can't make the conference, these are the sorts of things to keep your ear to the ground and see what's coming up and see what you've got up next, mate, what you're thinking of. Pick your brains. What are you planning?
Exactly. Let me see, after I'm still planning to go to GIS, and let me see what I can have a chat with all the different guys that I know there. I am actually going to visit Jim at the university. That my plan is to go there and have a look at their facilities. He actually even said, "Can you talk about Australian turf?" I said, "Oh yeah, of course."
There you go.
So that's in the works as well. Then there's others in the faculty that I want to meet as well who I haven't met. So watch this space. I can't say yes or no.
No, mate, that's all. I had to pick your brains because it was such a success. So, mate, good to hear. Thank you very much for putting it on and certainly inviting me down. It's great to be part of it, mate, and well done.
No, thank you, Steve. Safe trip home.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Something a little bit different, a live recording. You could hear, you could hear a lot of the chatter in the background there as I was doing the little snippet interviews. And look, that was just all about passing on to you the thoughts and feels from some of the people that were involved and attended. There was a lot of people that attended the forum. So it's a fantastic day, very successful day, and a wonderful day put on by Colin Campbell Chemicals and Nadeem. So thank you very much to them for inviting me down to be part of it. It was fantastic, and it was just a bit of a showcase to you guys, just so you could get an idea, like I said, of what it means to be up to date with information and going to those sorts of events. With those sorts of speakers. So it was really good to chat to a few people, Richard Forsyth, Ben Sims from Cape Kidnappers and the like. So fantastic. Thank you to everyone who was part of it, all the people that participated in those snippets, and of course, thank you to Nadeem, which I have to mention, make sure you get out and check the website at campbellchemicals.com.au to see how Colin Campbell Chemicals can help you maintain and look after your turf. They've got all sorts of different products there that are available to manage and deal with any problems that you come across on your golf course. So get in touch with them, get in touch with Nadeem, and check out their website as well. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to please like, share, subscribe, pass the podcast around to anyone you think may well be interested in listening for all sorts of different things. And don't forget all the segments that I do. There's Keeper of the Greens, obviously. There's Walking the Fairways, the Design Brief, Aussie Golf History. There's so many things going on in the podcast, and I look forward to bringing some new conversations with you in the coming weeks, in the coming months. There's a lot coming on, and I've got a list of things that I want to be able to continue to bring to you. You'll be able to pass it around. We have now hit already 21,000 downloads. It's continuing to grow, so I do appreciate all your support, guys out there listening. It's fantastic to hear. I've had some wonderful conversations with some of the listeners that have got in touch with me, so if you want to, please feel free to get in touch with me. It's always good to chat, and I do appreciate it, and it sounds like everyone out there listening is really enjoying listening to the podcast, so thank you very much. I tip my hat and say thank you kindly, which I do appreciate so greatly. So thank you, guys. I'll leave you with it. You hit them clean, we'll keep them green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.